I got to figure out a better system because, like, I want my hands already starting here, but. Welcome back yet again. Episode. Actually, I don't really do that anymore. I'm here as always. We have the greatest producer. I've been doing some video editing, and some of the cameras like aren't on at the right time, and but you guys love them, so.
What's up, everybody? My name's Gio.
I love that you. Okay. All right, so yeah, Gio's here today. On third mic, you just heard him on the last episode. Sticking around, we're actually doing both episodes today. I have my boy Noah.
You said I would be back soon, and here I am.
I know.
So I appreciate it. If
you guys paid attention right at the very end, if you stuck around, which is probably what I'm going to name the episodes, like stick around or something. It had a slow start, a slow grind, and but then we got into some really cool stuff. So Noah's off camera as well as Gio.
He doesn't like us that much. That's why.
Helping me out on third mic. Dude, the camera thing is your choice. Like, you were the one, like, well, the producer should be off.
Mm-hmm.
And I agreed. Finally, after like 15 episodes.
It took you long enough.
Noah's off camera because I have a great guest, someone that I love, someone who's been a great inspiration for my journey through podcasting, content creation, and just continues to motivate me. And, now is growing his heart. But I don't know if we could talk about that. So, Jared, Carroll connection.
Thank you. Glad to be back, man. Like, finally on YouTube. Like, what the fuck? Like,
so now you can see yourself.
Yeah, now I can really be the narcissist I am. Yeah. But yeah, I'm super proud of you, man. Like that. Like, I've been fucking going crazy for that for so long. Just being like, bro, you need to post. You need to post it on YouTube. I need to watch it. Like, for me, I like to watch the YouTube podcast. So like, now I could literally just be at work and just place it up and just fucking get to actually watch the podcast. And it's like, for me, 10 times more enjoyable.
Yeah. It's funny because like for a while, you've been a lot of the set the feet to the fire kind of steps along my journey. Like even when we first started talking and I said I had a podcast, you're like, yeah, I'd love to do it. I think that's awesome. But you kind of like created an ultimatum, which I feel like you generally were just creating the ultimatum, but like would have still done it. But you're like, you have to be on Apple and Spotify before I'm on your podcast. I'm like, all right, how do I do that? And you got me to take that step. And you've been saying for a while, like, get that YouTube content out now. And for a while, I really like had in my mind at the time, like justified reasons that like, I don't want to do like video content. Like I want it to be an audio podcast. It was like, I was justifying these excuses for a while, but I finally did come to that conclusion. Like, no, that is what needs to happen next.
And finally got to your point.
And yeah, keep that red mute button on your mic on.
I'm just glad because those episodes of the video were trash.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But like
only the ones that you were on.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, God.
Get wrecked.
Yeah, that one hits. Like. I bet those are probably your most viewed episodes, though.
Probably not even close. No,
probably not.
Dude.
Nah,
you don't bring an audience.
I don't really promote it.
C-Conk only knows you, like and Carroll connection.
I've noticed that too. Even doing like my own podcast is like obviously the people who are from my town, their episodes do better, anyways. But I mean that's just kind of like obvious when you once you maybe not obvious to anyone who doesn't do podcasts or any type of content creation. The people around you are obviously going to be people that initially consume like whatever you're creating. But
well, to really wrap up the most entertaining podcast topic of talking about podcasts, I have my boy Napoleon, which is a newer, I don't want to call it a segment, it's a new little fun thing that I found. This guy on Instagram that just has some really cool, like he posts these reels that just have got me to think. It's been one of my favorite, most entertaining Instagram follows. And he posts like sometimes multiple times a day, just like either working out a bit, working out a character, or just saying something that happened in his day. And it just is like, makes you think about that thing. And also sometimes when you start breaking it down, it's kind of confusing. So it's fun to listen to. I've been trying to hand select them based off of my guest, but lately they've just been random because I'm still learning this tool. So my boy Napoleon's gonna give us a quick little word of the episode, I guess, and Gio's gonna jump into the topic right after, the theme song. So,
Hi, how are you all doing? I just wanted to share something with you all. You guys know all about the prom, right? That last dance or that big major event in your senior year of high school? Well, nobody ever asked me to go to the prom with them. I have to say, all these years later, that freaking stinking hurts. I'm just a kid, right? Whatever, how old I'm, 16, 17, whatever. Man, not one person asked me to go to the prom with them. All these years later, I'm still pretty upset about that.
I'm sorry.
Someone could have found a way.
Could have.
I remember spending that prom night watching a Sylvester Stallone movie and thinking to myself, they can all kiss my ass. Thank you for watching.
That's motivation right there.
Hi, how are you all?
That was almost smooth.
We'll talk quickly about it. You want to give me like a still or two in that camera? Oh, that's your camera.
I would also just like to mention how he just like got completely in front of your shot while you were holding up the glass.
Oh, do it again.
He went full on tusk.
Gio, this isn't.
No.
Alright,
You're
just
good.
want to make sure this isn't. Gio's usually good at his job.
I never said usually.
All right, to kick off this episode, I got to know about prom with Jared, the once very, I don't even know how to say that, very dark love story that Jared's expressed. A lot off air, I feel like you used to use your, situationship and stuff to help create a genuine vibe before doing a podcast to like help people open up. So you kind of share like some of your insecurities, some of your recent situations that like have you down so that people feel comfortable opening up and sharing. And it's something that like I wish I knew how to do because I've tried that with my podcast. Like, oh, let me just like bullshit for a little bit before we go on. And I just can't genuinely get someone to open up before we start the podcast. So like I've always been, admired you for that ability. But who'd you go to prom with? Like, you don't have to name drop, but like, did you have a prom?
Yeah, so I went to junior and senior prom. Both not very memorable experiences, to be honest.
Sure.
I went with people, but like it was more like a friend kind of thing. It was never like a.
You went with a
like
group.
Yeah. Well, I had a quote unquote date to the prom, but it was like a friend. It wasn't.
Oh,
like,
okay, not a girlfriend.
Yeah, no.
Was it a girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like anything like serious or anything.
Yeah.
So it was a fun time. Prom's all right. Like it's highly overrated. Like it's overpriced, cheap dinner.
It is and it isn't. I think there is a lot that I got out of prom. Like,
I had more fun
like,
after prom.
Oh,
that was actually fun.
What did I do? I don't remember. I had a junior, senior. Junior, I went stag. And
What's stag?
like alone, no date.
Oh,
like not even like a friend to take pictures. Like I just went. I got to wear whatever I wanted.
Did you wear a white suit?
No, I did.
Right. I feel like that everyone who went by themselves would always wear a white suit.
I did lime green, dude.
Of course, it was something like crazy.
I have to pop, dude. I was a middle child. I'm going to pop.
He needed the attention.
Yeah. And then senior year, I actually got to know a girl because like I knew a friend of a friend and I saw her. She was, I think she was like a sophomore at the time. And I'm like, oh, that girl's cute. And I said that to someone I guess was really close with her. And like, oh, really? Like I'll say something. And so like at some point in like March or April, I like after tennis practice, she was getting out of like, she was like field hockey or something. So in the most nervous and awkward way, I was like, our mutual friend kind of like was hanging out with her outside the gym waiting to get picked up. And I like walk up, do you want to go to prom? And then she ended up being my girlfriend after, I think it was like just after prom is when we started like, actually I think it was prom night that we became official. I dropped her off, kissed, official. And that was was like my first like real girlfriend, I think, because I had some other girls in my life before, but like middle school girlfriends don't count.
Yeah. Senior prom holds like a kind of like the after, at least, a special place for me, because the after was like a group of friends. We all were hanging out. We all tented out in someone's backyard and stuff. They had the pool and shit.
That's a big vibe.
And it was cool. We all had the booze and shit. It's like we're seniors in high school, just getting fucking rowdy after. And
Not me.
and one of my friends, like, God rest her soul, I had a pretty shitty prom. The person I went with kind of just did their own thing, and I was kind of like, damn, like, the whole point was to, like, go together.
Yeah.
It was, like, to, like, be with all our friends, doing all the stuff, just, like, did her own thing. So I went with her and her other friend, and we all vibing with, like, her dates and stuff, and, like, it was a good time. And after, I got fucking hammered. Like, I'll show you pictures. I still have the pictures, like obliterated.
Yeah.
And her and my other friend were just, like, cheering me up, drinking with me. Just, like, it was just such a great time and such a memorable experience. It's like when she passed. And she passed several years later.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
And she passed several years later. And looking back on those pictures, like, I always, like, appreciate that she looked out for me to have a good time. She was one of those people who would always look out, like, shout out to Haley, like, people in Seekonk know who Haley is. She would always look out for everybody. And, like, the fact that she looked out for me that night and, like, we had a great time. She turned the entire night around, and, like, it was just such a memorable experience. So, like, it's not so much like the actual prom dance. It's the fact of, like, after with friends. That was, like, it's the experience.
And that's what I learned, especially the senior year when I had that, like, I asked that girl out. It was like, it was the whole couple of months leading up to it. It was like, it's not the night, and it's not going with someone. It's not what you do at prom. Like, that's all bullshit anyways. It's like,
It's for pictures.
Yeah, whatever. It's memories, but the real memories, I think, come from before and after prom. And it's like the people that you're around, especially that senior year, because it's like the last real gathering with your classmates, because then everyone goes off to college, and you stick around with a couple of people over the years, but the majority of those, like, bigger groups are kind of, like, dwindling each year. But it's funny, you said one of the years you went with a girl and she just, like, wasn't giving you a lot of attention or something?
Just did her own thing. Just went and, like, we took the pictures, got there, like, ate, completely went to someone else, completely did her own thing, which I didn't care personally, but it was kind of just like awkward. It's just like, what do I do? Like, I'm just going to stand here in, like, a corner.
My
Like,
dad took a different girl home that he went to prom with. And
Your dad's a G.
I found out because the girl he took to prom was my good buddy on my baseball team that, like, he dropped us off at a practice or a game, and my buddy's mom told him, and then I asked him about it. I'm like, oh, is that blah, blah, blah? And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess I did do that. Oh, she was kind of boring. I mean, that's not what but that's what I interpreted. Yeah. As we learned on the last episode, I read into things, I create backstories, whole thing. But how was your prom experience?
It was pretty good. I went with this girl named Ashley, and we're still good friends to this day. So I actually wanted to ask you guys, where did you guys have your prom? Because sometimes it's different locations.
I don't even fucking know. It was
Gillette was
yours
my
at
senior.
Gillette?
Yeah, my
that's
senior year
dope.
was Gillette.
What kind of bougie ass school?
Facts.
Oh,
dude.
it's not really a bougie school thing. It's
That's kind of lit though.
the event center. It was at the stadium. It was an event center in the stadium. It's May, so there's not like
There's no games or shit going on.
And not only is there not football, but I think the Rev season had ended when we had our prom. So there's like
That's lit.
the event center is actually like a lot more affordable, but because that year was at Gillette, I think it was like $80 a ticket to prom, whereas the year before was like $30. And as a teacher, one of the years that I was teaching, I was a class advisor, which is the class, like the president.
Yeah, you help with all that shit. Yeah.
I essentially host the meetings and make sure that they're doing, like, I sign off on any type of fundraiser because they can't, like, the students can't literally sign checks and stuff. So I'm the one who signs the checks and everything. I was with the freshman class, but because of that role, I had to, like, work with the other class advisors. So I was witnessing, like, what the seniors and everything do and what the class advisor actually does, like, what that role is. And a lot of that, like being able to go to Gillette versus this, is just based off of who you vote for president. That's like the one thing that they actually do. They don't actually do anything in this, like whatever speech you remember from your classmates doing president's speech, this speech, that speech, like none of that actually matters. They're not actually contributing to, like, oh, I'm going to try to fight for more recess. Like, they can't. They're not going to change the rules of the school. That's the principal and everything else.
So they are basically the president.
They are very, very closely related
Shout out Joe
to
Biden.
current president.
Him and his hairy legs, you know?
Yeah. That's like one of the most normal comments that he's made now. Like,
Now it's not even a sentence. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, we don't have to go there.
So one of the things they do is they are the ones who do the research. They go to the different venues and they talk to the like send emails and stuff to the different event coordinators to get those. Then they find out how much the multiple venues would cost. They start doing those fundraisers to reduce the cost of the overall event. But whatever cost they can't reduce is what the ticket price ends up being per student. And yeah, some schools can afford $80 a prom ticket, but there's also a lot of things that they do, like kind of behind the scenes, like the teachers and stuff, where they'll like pay, like they'll kind of like sponsor a kid, like unspoken, just like, oh, you want to go to prom? You're good. Like we'll sign your name. You got a ticket. Like if it's a financial situation, or whatever. So that does it. Like, even though like 80s is a lot, it's like that's the majority of the class is paying that. But like, if you wanted to go to prom and finance was the thing, they would find a way.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think 80's like too bad. I don't even remember.
I don't know why I got so defensive about you calling my school bougie. I think we just weren't bougie, and it really stuck.
Bro
with
went
me.
into a whole rant.
Yeah, he did. He went like on a full ass rant,
talking about his prom prices and where they're going.
aka he was bougie.
Yeah, if you have to defend and explain, the
You got to
prices-
defend how bougie or not. You're definitely bougie.
Facts. I would agree to that.
Yeah.
It's okay,
I
man.
realized it, but first step's admitting it. I was bougie.
But the
There you
whole
go.
point of the video was the fact he didn't get invited and like is still salty about it. Like,
Yeah.
I just
100%. You know how like he was
The whole
talking
part
about
of the
how
video.
we just listened to.
Napoleon. You know how he
Or
was
doesn't know
talking
we
about
played
how
a
he
clip
gets you
on his
to
own
think.
podcast.
You know how he said he gets you to think kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It gets me to think about why this is the decision why he decided to pick Napoleon out of anybody he could have picked.
Oh,
to
no,
be the-
Right now, I'm always picking Napoleon. Napoleon's a great thinker, great, tool for this podcast to really like
I hope he
build up
sees us,
something.
man.
I do too. He messaged me when I started liking all his pictures.
Does he have like a big following?
No, a lot bigger than mine.
Well, I guess, yeah.
No, I don't know. I would love to have him on the podcast.
Or I say like over 50K. Like that's kind of like
No, like 3K.
yeah, no, that's a good following though. It's like, yeah.
For like what
That's
he's
what
trying
we call
to.
small content creators, basically.
Yeah.
Like I look at that. Like obviously it's bigger to us because it's like more.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's like the space. That's a good goal to like strive towards. Like we were even talking about this off podcast, like the content creation goals and like where we've kind of gone with that. But like I've kind of fallen into this place and like this mindset where it's not so much like the priority as I once wanted it to be. It's more an outlet for me to kind of just express myself, not so much where I want to like make money or have a bunch of like followers or views. And like it does get like over the years, like this is year 4 for me doing content. So like
Wow.
it does get like tiring and repetitive and going through the motions sometimes, but like it is really nice every time you get like, especially for me, I've had a lot of return guests more recently, and when people actually validate that they had a good time and their family enjoyed the conversation, and that's where I'm like, okay, that's where I find the value. It's like
Right.
the conversation isn't for so and so in like California or fucking Russia, China, wherever they're from, listening to a podcast, Ireland, whatever. It's for the person and their family and like around that. And if it happens to get further, dope. But like missing a week, like this upcoming week, I'm not gonna have a podcast. Had to reschedule some stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna make one. Like I just like not forcing myself to like continually make the content if like I don't really feel like it. So it's like that has definitely changed. Where in the past I would be like, I need to like just do a solo. I need to get somebody. I need to get like you or my cousin Jake or just someone to do a podcast with. Like, no, it's like I'm okay with like missing weeks now. And that's something that has definitely changed over the last like several years.
That is something that's been a part of your thing, and you expressed it because one of your early guests was your grandfather. And that's something that you told me that I found to be very important and I still value in like immensely. And I do think, especially recently, I've like forgot about that a lot. And I have been really trying to like, and not to like, not saying that it's a bad thing that like I'm in a different direction right now, but it's important to think about it, like, especially when you're doing it, to be present and be like, this is me creating something for the people. Like, I don't know how to finish this sentence.
But I think just to even feed off it and give you something more to talk with is like, I really loved like when you did an episode like with your parents or your brother and like get them into the podcast, because like that was like kind of your way of doing that with like my grandfather. And like, that's something I want to do with my family. It's obviously on their terms. When they're ready, they know they can come to me and do that.
Of course.
But it's something that when I saw you do that, I was like, damn, I really want to do that with my parents. I want to do that. Like, I have one with my brother, but it's like something with like the parents, like you never know, like life's short, you never know. So it's like to have that, like that's worth more than anything. And that's something I've really learned from doing podcasts in general. Is like any person that I've ever talked to, like obviously as long as the internet's a real thing, like it's out there, it's forever. And like as long as I keep it going, it's always there. And I kind of hold that as the responsibility to keep going, is to like continually post for not just me, but like I have responsibility to hold their life stories up. Yeah. So like that's why I continually stick to like my kind of like direction with my podcast. But I like the fact that we both have different podcasts, can always come together and collab in a different way. And like, I know it's a different pace than what you normally do in your podcast. And like, you're pulling in different games and different jokes. You have Geo, you have Booth Babe, you go in all different directions. But it's cool for me to like come here and like, you're able to adapt to a different guest and like allow me to kind of like be myself instead of putting me into a bubble where I have to do everything like specifically towards your show, which is cool. That's
what I hate about doing your podcast. It's like, I don't want to fucking, like, can we laugh?
I had someone, shout out Neil Fisher. He was on a couple weeks ago, and like, you know me, like I'm staring at you, I'm looking at you, I'm listening intently, and he's like, dude, can you not look at me like that? And he's like, I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm trying to actually listen to what you're saying. And it, like, it's just so funny to like actually realize like not everyone, like I'm pretty serious when it comes to like the content and the podcast. So, like not everyone is so comfortable like that. So like I appreciate that he actually said it on the podcast, but like I think it's funny that you like mentioned something like that.
Because and especially for me, it's like I can be serious. I can talk about serious things, but I need, if I am, the way I am able to pace myself through the whole thing is by moments of relief, like getting that like the Shakespearean comedy out, if you will, like where I'm able to actually like just like take a moment where I can decompartmentalize and just like take myself away. Like let's laugh real quick. All right, now we can go a little deeper. Now we can go a little more into this. It frees me up knowing that I can laugh. So a lot of times that's, you know, it's like my awkward twitch, my nervous twitch or whatever. It's like, let's just find a way to laugh at this, even if it's like I'm laughing at myself. But
what about you, Noah? Like with your podcast, do you tend to have like a podcast, like a comedic side, or do you tend to be just more like, let's talk about history?
No, so well, I do. Yeah. Go back to the last episode. You'll figure that one out. No, but so I have a podcast about sports too. So like with my sports podcast, I mean I make a lot of jokes about my favorite team. Shout out the Detroit Lions. We've been terrible for a long time.
They're coming up. They're coming up. I like some of the
Yeah.
signings this year too.
I know. I do appreciate what they've been able to do so far. But yeah, so I've definitely had that like comedic aspect to like just relieve the internal pain I have being a Lions fan. But yeah, man.
Yeah, laughing at your insecurity, that's a good thing, or your weaknesses.
It's good to incorporate that.
I laugh at your
podcast.
weaknesses too, wALiE.
Yeah. I encourage everybody to laugh at my weaknesses.
It's like the time when on the podcast that I labeled undeniable in the summer, and I'm giving you all these compliments, and all of a sudden you're like, just had to throw in the short jab and just fucking dig it in. And I was like, damn, bro, like, On my podcast, I'm giving this dude his flowers, and he's just like, "You're short." I was
that's
like,
it.
"Wow."
That's because you don't know me. So
I know. I was fucking with you. I said you were balding, which was a fact.
Yes, but like
Took you long enough though. It was like after the fact.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
it was like in my head, I'm like, this has been too long of like motivational, inspirational, like
twitching.
like not, I'm like, I gotta laugh. But one thing interesting too that I found, and I'm excited to eventually hear the episode that your parents come on, whether you do one at a time or both, or however you figure that out. One of the things that I learned having my parents on, which again was because you made that point about like, you never know who needs to like if something happens to me or something happens to my parents, like that episode is also for my siblings or for my extended family. Like it is for those people. But one of the great things that I got to do, and I'm interested to see how your podcast will play into this. I talk to my parents all the time. Like we communicate all the time, but I didn't realize until that episode that I don't have conversations. I don't shoot the shit with my parents ever. So when they're on my podcast, like I'm in that podcast group where like I need to make sure we're talking about entertainment. Like we need to talk about like things like we're not going to talk about when the next time, I am going to come to your house to do laundry. I'm not talking about like when the next family gathering, like we're not just scheduling shit, which is like what our conversations tend to be. We're talking about things that I want to show them that I've done with the podcast. Like one time my dad was on, I was like just showing him like Instagram memes and just like getting my dad's take on them. It was just like a stupid, silly podcast. But like, I didn't realize until the first time, like how much or how valuable that can really be. Like, when do you talk to your parents? Like have conversations? I mean, some people probably always have, but I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up having conversations.
I think the relationship grows when you start to move out too. Like
of course.
When I've moved away, like that's when I talk to my parents the most. When you live every day with them, it's kind of just like, it's just another thing. They're just like, I hate to say it, like they're just there. Like, they're there. Like, so you kind of take it for granted in that way. So like, that's part of that whole.
Yeah. So like, I will be interested to see how you go about that episode. Like, are you going to treat it identical to a lot of your first guests where you get to know their backstory?
I'd probably go a lot deeper, to be honest. I would probably spend a lot more time, and I would probably allow that episode to be longer than others, knowing what I know now. Like, if I could go back in time with my grandfather in that episode, I would have done like 2-3 hours. Like, I would have done it so much longer.
Yeah.
So like those ones will be a lot more personal for me. Like, especially my parents. Like, I have ones with one of my siblings, and my two other ones don't really find the interest in doing it. They're not really talkers like that.
I know. I still haven't got my sister on. I like want her on so bad.
Yeah, but definitely, like, I think the one with my mom is gonna be the one. It's when she's ready, if she wants to do it. Like, she knows it's there. But she just has to get her place to tell her story, and that's something that she's working on to eventually do. But I think it's gonna be really interesting to like be able to like sit down and like kind of interview her and like actually hear her full perspective on her life, not just like stories from families and stuff. Like, actually hear the story. I think that'll be cool.
See, and that's the thing that like I am interested to witness, because most of the time when my parents are coming on, it's to get them to talk about me. Like, because I know it's gonna be funny. I know they're gonna say something that would.
You conceited little bastard.
Well, sort of. Great take. No, can you just say something just to outshine whatever Gio just did?
I mean, I kind of agree. So like, no, I'm just kidding, dude. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding, dude. I'm just kidding. We're cool. I was like, well, this is the last time I'm ever on this pod.
No, but like a lot of times it's like I know they're gonna say something like embarrassing about me or like what people I find really enjoy about Booth Bay being on is she calls me out on a lot of shit. I feel like my parents do that too. So like if I'm like, oh yeah, I always do blah, blah, blah. Like, you've done that. You've done laundry 3 times. We always do the laundry when you bring it here. Like, just like, and a lot of times it's not even that like I'm trying to lie or trying to exaggerate. It's just like, I don't even know that I'm doing it. I'm just saying like what it was to me. And a lot of times I'm a thinker. So like I think about something for so long that like I distort the reality. So whenever like my parents are on, I'm like recapping a story with them. They're like, that's not what, like, so here's what you were doing in the car when that happened. And your sister was doing this, like, or what, I don't know.
I was just saying, I'm like, you might be, like you said, like you're a thinker. I am like such an over planner. Like every detail of everything that I have to do, like I need to know. Like time management, I'm like obsessed with time management. Like I know exactly how long it's going to get me to get to work, to get into my office, to get to my desk, how long I need to walk to my car, to get home, to beat traffic, or if I'm planning a trip or something, where I need to go, what's the food on the menu, how long is it going to take to get to the restaurant. Like I am like so over the top with planning.
Yeah.
It definitely like fucks with my head a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So like I could kind of relate to you in that aspect of being an overthinker where it's like, or thinking so much where it can like kind of force you to be like constricted almost, or like in your sense distort your own quote unquote reality of the actual situation.
Like by the time I'm like recapping it or telling somebody, I'm like, I've forgotten the elements of the story that I didn't really know, but I don't want the story to get boring, so I just like fill the gaps.
I feel like since I've listened to your podcast, I feel like I talked to you about this, but I don't know if I actually talked to you about like this, like, or I just listened to you talk about this, like this fact of like where you'll think about something so much where you think that's like actually what happened, but it's not. Yeah. And I feel like I don't know if I actually talked to you about this or I heard it through your podcast. It's so weird.
Crazy. I am. No, I think yeah, that's the other thing. Like, dude, it must get annoying for some of the people around me where it's like I always forget where I've told the story before, because I've definitely told the story, and sometimes I've only told the story to myself in my head. And sometimes I've told on the podcast, and I've told it to my best friend, to Booth Babe, to my dad. I've told the story like 6 times, and then I just start retelling. I'm like, oh, I noticed I'm getting bored. So rather than just going like, did I tell you this already? I just over amplify and just start trying to make it, like trying to capture the attention. And I do this to Booth Babe all the time. By the time I like finish recapping, she just lets me do it. And then I finish and she's like, yeah, no, I've heard that one before. And this, and like, didn't do that. This is not what happened. And like, I'm like, fuck, you told me this the first time. Like, shit.
I really like the fact that you've added Booth Babe as more of a like consistent, I guess, and that she's willing to do it too. I think that's really dope. And like, because like
I don't think it's necessarily willing. I think it's just
that might be you might be right there. But like having Gio and Booth Babe as like people to kind of keep you in line with a lot of this stuff. Like
even then, I don't think it's actually willing. I mean, I'm here for no.
You sort of get paid.
What?
Doesn't sound like much.
What is that supposed to mean?
Reparations. We're all paying him.
Mm-hmm. He pays me like a third of what he would normally pay anybody.
Two thirds.
At least you're paying him. Not to go back into old stuff, you know.
Yeah, you know.
What old stuff?
All the people.
Oh, yeah.
Slavery.
No, I know what you're.
That works too, though. Like you knew what I was saying, but that works too.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna sit here and just let you just sulk in this because I want to see what happens.
I think there is a value in that. Like I try to jump to fill dead air way too much, and I get like really nervous when there's that pause or that break. No one's talking, but sometimes I'm listening to a podcast and I'm like, and then when they start talking again, like that gap, that pause of like, the video didn't pause, but it like shocks you back into the podcast, like back into the thing. Like, even if it's not to like land a punchline or anything, it's like, there's just an organic pause. It actually comes off way more natural. And it's just something that I've like never been comfortable to just like allow myself to do. So I just never do it because I always jump to fill it.
Yeah, I do the same thing though. That's one of the tough things when you have guests is like trying to give them enough time to say what they want to say, but like not jump on it, but also be prepared to jump because like they might just stop talking and then like you have dead air.
Yeah.
So like It's like that kind of sucks. I have that every once in a while, is where you just have like kind of have to go on rants. Like it'll be related to what I'm talking to, but like I'm pretty good at catching myself to like circle it back to like what I'm trying to talk to them about. But like I also know like I usually do typically like an hour podcast. Like I'm trying to also fill up an hour. So like I gotta talk at least a little bit, look at the time real quick, or I'm like, all right, give it back to them, like just let them take it home. So it's like sometimes you kind of have to just like say some stuff, some word salad, as they say, to kind of just move along with it and get to the next topic. That's the art of podcasting, quote unquote, is to get it to that next point.
But my problem is when I am talking, that's me actively thinking. Like I am starting my point. I have somewhere where I'm trying to get to, but I fill my thought process with words. So then the actual rant is not very valuable. It's literally just filler. So I try not to do that, but I was literally doing it a bunch of times last episode. And since I've started, like it's just, I do that not even when I'm doing a podcast, like just in my natural life. I get myself in a lot of trouble.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I do the same shit though. I just be talking sometimes and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that one, and just kind of like, it's just natural when like, I mean, we both do podcasts. We both talk a lot. That's just part of the thing we do. If we didn't talk a lot, we wouldn't be good at doing podcasts. So it kind of comes second nature.
Well, being good is also a very strong word.
Fair. Average to poor, depending on the ratings that we get on Apple. But we're still like, you got to talk a lot. Like it's part of the thing. So like, even when you're talking to people on the daily, what?
Did you just feel that splash?
No.
Where did that come from? Is that just my
I
lips?
spit? My bad.
No, it wasn't spit. I think I like breathed and my mustache hairs had some whiskey on it.
I like the fact that you grew it still. Like you keep growing it long. I listened to.
I almost cut it the other day, but
the story about like the scar and the stuff. I'm like, I never even knew that. Like when I listened, like that was actually one I was like, wow, that's actually an informative thing that I never knew about you.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, like I just like never like thought like when you were talking about like the symmetrical aspect of like your face. I never thought to like think of that. But like you know what came up like not semi recently was like the original episode that you were on, the Carroll Connection, like episode 50. And it's just so crazy like how different you were then to like what you are now.
I should go
like,
and listen to that.
It is crazy. Even just listen to the clip, I was like, this is not the same fucking person. Like this is so completely different. And it's just so crazy to see like the whole wALiE stuff originated from like the video game stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's where like it really kind of started to like formulate, and like when did it become like this walrus thing? Like was that always the thing?
It was the Microsoft random generated gamer tag. It was Rundown Walrus. So I just like started playing, and then I bought a new Xbox because the first one like just broke, and it was like time to make a new gamer tag, and I had been playing with like a couple people, so like I don't know, I'm kind of like weird and sentimental too, so I was like I wanted to make a name that looked like a randomly generated thing, but was like similar to the old gamer tag. So I made it Mystic Walrus, like 829. Like I just picked 3 random numbers, and then that was like my second account for a while. And then, yeah, like I like to be like 2 things with the content. Like I am very sentimental, so I like to like create the things that like remind me of the things that like got me started. These things fucking suck. So I like to do something that's going to remind me of what it was. And I also like to like lay little Easter eggs and little like little information that like, I mean, if you ask, I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Who you even listen to for like content, like any content? Like what's been the content for you lately?
Like what do I watch?
Listen to, like what's been the thing for you lately? Because like my
not
stuff.
Carroll Connection.
Well, that's fine. I don't even listen to that.
That's boring. It's not boring. It's honestly.
Want to compare our views to last episodes that we had? We could do that on YouTube alone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, I saw one. Dude, this is like a year ago. I saw the number of like downloads based off of your Simplecast like analytics.
You could see that.
We were just working, and I
don't think I showed that.
Happened to be up on your screen, and I'm still like a fifth of what that number was. like a year ago. So like,
I mean,
I know.
You were
like,
posting videos and stuff, like at least like a third of my content has been posted on videos, and that I had to get used to seeing that. Like my Simplecast numbers went down, but like my YouTube numbers went up, and it's like damn, I'm getting less audio listens, but I'm getting more views.
Yeah,
so it's like it's a trade, so I have to like combine those, and then it's like a bigger number. I'm like, oh, like it's actually pretty cool when like I think about it like that. But
I've thought about that transition, just like possibly even going off audio podcasts and just focusing on the YouTube for a little bit, and then like
I get enough where it's like at least it's worth it. 'Cause like I mean,
yeah,
some people do like to listen to audio stuff too, so like I kind of leave that.
Well, it keeps me with a good routine to make sure that an episode goes out every like
Same,
I
I would
use it
agree.
a lot for the scheduling. I don't care about the analytics or anything. It makes it easy to make sure that like because I'm still like making sure I can work a video episode into my workflow every single week, like especially when it's like a crunch time thing. Like I'm still working on the video that comes out this upcoming Sunday.
Damn, you're still working on it?
Yeah, I recorded it Tuesday, so.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, I spent 4.5 hours just going through the camera cuts yesterday.
Video editing sucks. That's why I keep it super simple.
Simple, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, yours looks fantastic when you like put it all together. It looks great.
Yeah,
Just takes so much fucking time.
it does. It's such I don't listen to my podcast back anymore. I rarely watch back an episode, and if I do, I don't typically finish it. But it's a lot due to video editing now, because like I've done it. I've done the content. I'm watching it back, and when you're doing the angles, like once you switch it up and switch an angle, like you rewatch the last like 5 seconds to make sure that like the angle switches flow well enough. They're not too fast. They're not too slow. They like meet the timing, so that like I've also seen in like little sections like it back another time. So it's just like too much of my own content, and like I'm very bored of my content, which
I mean, that's when you do the content, you're gonna
Right.
get. I mean, you're already doing it. Then you have to like do it again by editing it.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you have to. I don't know, I feel the same way sometimes. But
That's
when
why I
edit-
cut wALiE out a lot.
yeah.
When I edit mine, like I skip when I talk. Like I don't even care to listen to what I'm saying. I just go towards what my guest is saying. So
Well,
like,
I mean, you're a podcast too. Like, typically the times you're talking is like to just set up the next question to move on to the next. Like,
yeah, that's what I don't like to put too much of my stuff into that episode, because like again, it's their episode. Like it's for their friends, it's for their family. It's
Yeah.
not for me. So like
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much, but if I have to, I will. It's
Yeah.
usually when they just like quick responses, and like I mean, you've had guests like that. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like it comes with it. Sometimes they don't have the podcast skills down, and like they're not great with their communication. So like you kind of have to
they
fill in
can't
the gaps.
tell their story.
Yeah, so like you kind of have to like fill in the gaps, relate to their shit, and just keep it moving. But the whole point was about content you're watching, because I was curious about like what you've been like.
True.
listening to.
I don't know. I don't really.
Like entertainment.
I don't have a lot of entertainment. Like, I'm trying to think of like what was the last show I finished. I don't really know. I listen to the podcast every week, but I feel like the past like couple months, like even the Your Mom's House or Two Bears One Cave, like I put it on and it's just like kind of background noise. I've been getting a lot of value out of like my daily walks and like thinking myself, and then you know, using my commutes. Like I don't listen to music, I don't listen to podcasts. I also use that as more thinking time.
You just drive silent.
Yeah, I don't
Crazy.
put anything. I just
That's
use,
crazy.
I make
He said
myself
this a couple times, and I've said the same thing. I was
Yeah,
like, what the
that
fuck?
might be borderline psychotic.
Yeah, I mean,
If it works, it works, man. But
it's borderline. It crosses over when I start talking out loud to myself.
I mean, I do
Which
that
he
too,
also
though.
says he does.
Which I
like,
do.
In
I
the,
talk
in
to
the
myself.
car, though. Like, just
mean,
instead
I've
of the
done that.
music. No, well, it's one thing to just be like,
Not
oh, I
the-
got this thing to do. I got this thing to
Okay,
do.
yeah.
wALiE
That's
will
more-
straight up apparently just, like, talk to himself, like,
Yeah.
conversations.
I don't have too
I just
long
do
conversation.
I just do a
but-
rant out loud to myself.
I mean, I've sometimes done something like that, but not like
I've done that in my head silently.
I've said it out loud sometimes. Sometimes I just want to say some shit. Like I don't know. I kind of relate to that a little bit. I ain't
Cool.
gonna lie. Like,
It's
All right.
awesome.
So,
But-
two psychopaths.
I mean, I am a narcissist, so that could be fair.
But to kind of answer your question, I guess like I've always been into comedy, like stand up. that's why like a lot of the or almost only the podcasts that I listen to are stand-up comedy.
I'm a big Kill Tony guy.
Great, dude. That's kind of where I was gonna start heading. Like, what's your type of comedy? What type of comedy do you enjoy listening to?
I love Kill Tony. Like that. Like the show idea itself is like it should be way more famous than it actually is. Like the idea of that show is to put on other comedians, like comedians, in like 60 seconds, and then interview them too. Like it is so fucking funny. Like. Or even if like they're not even good, like that part you're sitting there, you're cringing, like, oh, this is so bad, like, and then fucking Tony just starts roasting them, and like the worst part is when it's actually like a shitty guest that fucks with the flow. That's when it sucks.
I've never listened to the whole thing, but they are some of my favorite podcast clips to watch.
Oh, I watched like Hans Kim, like David Lucas.
I like.
William Montgomery, like those three, like
I'm not a big William Montgomery. I don't like his comedy. I think he like.
I'm surprised. I feel like you would actually like his comedy. Like he gives off kind of like you'd be into that vibes. Maybe it's the beard, but
so this is kind of the point that I wanted to get to. Like not a revelation. Like I've noticed this for a while, but I like want to start sharing this with like my different guests and everything. I know, or I've learned that. There is the type of comedy that you enjoy, like that makes you laugh. I not just enjoy, like the type of comedy that makes you laugh, and the type of comedy or jokes that you use to make other people laugh. And very rarely do those align. A lot of times they overlap. There's a lot of similarities in the style of comedy, and like I really like break down like the art form. So like I understand like. In the way that, like, there's so many different types of rock and roll. There's punk rock and 80s rock and this rock. Like, I see that in styles of comedy. Like, I see all the different niches, and I enjoy a lot of different styles of comedy. And it's always interesting to know, like, what makes that someone else laugh and how they've, like, made me laugh or how they make the people around them laugh. And I've been doing this for so long. Like, there's certain comedians that like I would recommend to my dad or my friend or and then there's like a certain comedian that like if I watch their special I go, this is something that my mom would like.
What do you think about Matt Rife? You like
Matt Rife?
The attractive TikTok dude that's like going viral?
I think he's funny. I think he's got a lot of premises as a stand-up.
His most recent one.
I didn't watch his recent one.
It started slow and I was like, it's kind of corny and cliche, but by the end I was like, I like this. Like, this was pretty good. Like,
I will say, I respect him as a, like, actual stand-up. I would give him, like, true stand-up quality. I think he has a lot, like, his actual following, his success is...
It's largely because he's attractive.
Well, it's that. It's also, he comes from Wild 'N Out. Like, he has, like...
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he used to be on Wild 'N Out. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's more because he's attractive rather than he was on Wild 'N Out.
I think that's an element.
It definitely.
It's hard to work with in comedy, but my point being, like, I think right now his like success is
he had that little scandal on that
overrated
wALiE's podcast.
Oh yeah,
he said I forget. They were talking about like women's like private parts and stuff, and like saying what they liked and didn't like, and it got them canceled for a second.
Oh.
Because, like, his whole image was, like, catering to that, and, like, they all got everyone got pissed about it, but...
So what I'm saying is, like, I think right now he's overrated, but I think he is on the trajectory to be, like, a great comic.
I would agree with that.
And
a little corny still.
And I kind of compare it to, like, what Jake Paul could be in boxing. Like, Jake Paul has... like grown and he's shown that like he's serious in his training. He's very regimented. He's like a serious athlete. He can really do boxing.
I think he lost the hype though.
And then when he loses, this is the turning point where I think Matt Rife is kind of at, where based off his loss, if his next fight, which I'm pretty sure is already like so then he's making the wrong pivot. So if his next fight was like another boxer, like not scared to lose, like ready to prove himself and like keep trying to prove himself, he will be a great boxer or could show himself as a great YouTube turned boxer.
He probably should have stayed with the route he was doing.
So
that
Matt
fight
Rife.
the fight was all right if you watched it. Like, it wasn't like a bad fight. Just Tommy Fury's a legit boxer. Like, that's what could happen.
Matt Rife, I truly do believe could be like one of the great, like have a real like. He's so early, so it's like I think he could have a couple like amazing stand-up specials. He has the jokes, he has the premises, he knows the craft. He's really good, but I don't think he's, had enough time in that industry to really like work out his best ability. And if he takes the success from, because it was a YouTube special, right?
Yeah, it was a YouTube special.
If he takes the success from that, and it's very easy to do, but you plateau. You just go, like, if he takes that special and now just starts doing theaters, he's not going to be a great comic. But if he like takes that, goes, I know I can do better, and just works in clubs for like another year, really gets masterful about like touring and doing these things, and then puts out another special, now he can start doing theaters. And I think if he like works at that craft and like improving that craft, rather than being like, wow, this really worked, I'm successful, let me keep doing this.
That makes sense. You know what I've been giving a lot of time to as well is streamers, like gaming. Like,
Sure,
I've been getting, for some reason.
Is there like, how do you find your streamers? Do you
Funny enough, like this one, like is obvious. I got back into Ninja. Like,
Sure,
he was
wow.
he was on, because like he's just been pumping his TikTok on his live, and it started showing up for me, and I just
Is he
started.
on Twitch now?
He's back on Twitch, but he's
Okay.
like he's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, so,
but
like,
his main like he's
That's
like
his
signed or
main-
partnered with Twitch.
No, he's not, because if he is, he couldn't stream everywhere.
Oh, true.
So that
okay.
was part of the whole thing. Is like he went back to them. They would have probably done a deal, but he wanted to
Yeah.
stream everywhere, because he can probably
Right.
pull up to like 30, 40K on all platforms versus just getting like 10, 15K on Twitch, which he was like not gonna, because he's not gonna get back to the old days. Like, it's not happening.
right.
But for me, I don't know. Like, something just like, I like his comedic style with the way that he plays his video games. It's very something that, like he'll quote so many things from like my TikTok For You page. So just to me, it's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious. Like, I relate to it because like it's like stuff that I'll see, and he'll like say it like I can't even think of. I can think of like, I don't know if you've seen like the dog with the long fucking nose like on TikTok was in the Pringle can and shit. I don't know if you guys ever seen that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
It's like he'll quote that like, did I do like that thing on like on the stream, and like randomly, and like that will just make me laugh. But I don't know. I've always personally, I like Fortnite. I don't care what people say. Like, I like the game itself. It's still there and it's not going anywhere. Especially with
getting better.
The Unreal Engine added to
Yeah.
it. It's not going anywhere. But I like watching him play it, because he plays it. He'll play Final Fantasy 11, like the old Final Fantasy, and play Fortnite at the same time and still fucking clap people.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean,
joking around.
He is great. You know who I like? Like one of my favorite streamers that I've watched a lot of is Tim the Tap Man.
Yep.
I
like when they play.
I like his comedy style. I
like when they let his chat, like, I don't know if it's like he always does that, but like I was watching once, and like it was like an automated person reading the chat, like whoever would donate. Like, I don't know if it's like a little bit or something.
That's been around forever. Like a lot of streamers do.
I
like,
love it.
They
Was
usually do it like a
so
day.
funny.
Like,
yeah,
like
they're just roasting the Cowboys. It was so funny.
Yeah. I think I saw some of those like clips from that one. No, I really like Tim. I gotta pee so bad, but I don't want this to end just yet.
Okay.
You guys.
I actually got a question for him. I'm just
Keep
wondering.
it rolling.
All right, I got you. Is there anything or anyone that inspired you to do your podcast?
Oh yeah, 100%. It has to be Joe Rogan. Like, originally, like that was like the person that when I listened to that, I wasn't even early to that podcast. It was like very like later. Like, he had to be in his like thousands of episodes at this point, but it would get me through my work days. Realistically, it was like, I think they're like 3-4 hour episodes, and it was just cranking. And when I thought about doing my whole podcast, and I'll probably get you on my podcast eventually. We'll exchange numbers and talk about that after.
For sure.
But I've told this story a bunch of times of like I lived in Texas and Georgia and like had this whole experience, and it kind of created this space where I had to figure out how to do something that was like meaningful. So I went with podcasting, and I thought of Joe Rogan's thing, and my whole thing is the Carroll connection. His is the Joe Rogan experience. So like I kind of went that path with like interviewing guests and doing it that way, and I just like loved that script of like that interaction. And he was like, back then it was like a few years ago where he was really talking about like psychedelics and like DMT and shit. So like I was like super into that.
Right.
And I was like, how can I, not copy him, but do it my way, and like I turned it into like mental health, so I kind of kept it that style.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And here we go, the guest himself coming back.
Welcome to the podcast,
man. Took over real quick. Dude, this is what I do, man. I'm a substitute teacher, and I'm also a substitute podcast host, I guess, you know?
Straight up had the question ready to go. I think it's the first question I've been asked.
I did plan on asking you about possibly third miking today. Just knowing.
We're going to link up and just exchange to do episodes.
It wasn't even because...
Did I not say that?
It wasn't even because you like me. It's just because you knew you were going to have to use the bathroom at some point.
That is like
I need
100%
somebody
the
to
truth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Gio would be sitting there and doing the same thing. I have really appreciated you being here as the third mic. I think it's a very interesting role. Like
So I'm not third mic?
No.
Damn.
You were
what I
guest
applied
material.
for.
You're not.
I applied for third mic. Isn't that like the star role though?
Third? No, I'm the star. What?
Are you sure? You're wearing my shirt.
He did get you there.
Get fucked.
Okay, the guest is the star.
Sorry, that one was too easy.
Yeah.
Low hanging fruit.
But I think I had talked to Gio like a while back about incorporating a third mic eventually. And like I did have at the time already have a couple candidates that I wanted to like explore.
You weren't one of them?
Huh?
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it to be honest.
Yeah. Well, you're not reliable.
No, fair.
Are you down to do every Thursday?
I'm not driving 40 minutes to come do this every Thursday. Hell no. I barely like to set up my own podcast sometimes,
exactly.
bro. What the hell?
But it was an idea that like I had a couple versions of it. Like
if you live closer, I probably would have been more interested.
Yeah. One of the versions is like having one third mic that like is literally a part of the team the same way Gio is. I also, the more I thought about it, I was like, well, ever-changing vibe is all about changing it up. So I was like, maybe the people that I consider for this third mic role is like every episode changes, maybe like 3 episodes of this guy, or like randomly my dad stepped in as a third mic.
That's fine.
I kind of treat like Booth Babe as a third mic, where the third mic role is kind of like the person to help me through the podcast, to ask those extra questions, to like do a lot of what like Gio does like throughout the podcast, but amplify it in different ways, whether like, and I know the third mic based off of the guest, like I try to like start aligning it, like really thinking about the vision of it, where like, you know, there's some times where I'm going to want like more of a comedy third mic, someone who's going to like ad lib a joke here and there. And sometimes I want someone who's going to like, and when I say that, it's like how that third mic can help me do that with the guest, like how I can do more comedy with this third mic versus like I need to make sure I stay on track. So like someone like Noah, I mean, this is his first time. I think it's like working out really well, but like can really help point me in a direction of like staying on topic or like,
he'll eventually talk a little more.
Let's say he fits this vibe a lot better than some of your other third mics probably would have been.
Yeah. And then I also had like a vision of like, I got the idea from Bad Friends podcast, which is Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino. Mm-hmm. Andrew Santino's cheeseburger special, I think you'll really like.
I like him. He's pretty funny.
Yeah. So that's the funniest podcast to me. Like consistently funny podcast is Bad Friends right now. Like, anyways, but they had a third mic, which was like Bobby Lee's like niece or something like that for a while. And then like she was moving away or something. So like they liked having that person just like chiming in from time to time, helping them out with their podcast. And then because they're both stand-ups, they're like, well, why don't we get one of the local stand-ups? So then use the third mic role to help promote and bring somebody else up into the, like just give them more views, more like listens. So then hopefully their careers can grow as a stand-up. Cause like, oh, I saw you on Bad Friends. And they brought on this girl that's like now like she's been on for like maybe probably less than a year, but like she's hilarious. And I know like they talk about it all the time. Like she started opening for like, she was on Kill Tony not too long ago with Joe Rogan. She
Should give me a name.
Oh, who she opened for? Who's the dark humor guy? Oh my gosh. Anthony Jeselnik? Yes, she opened for Anthony Jeselnik on like a small tour, like a couple theaters. She's like starting to like headline at different clubs. So I loved that idea, and I was like, as I'm growing as a podcaster, and you know this, like I've always like tried to get more people into the podcast, especially in this local area. Like I want to be able to like network with multiple podcasters and like really sit down and collab. So like I want someone who wants to grow their own podcast, but maybe they don't know they do, but like I see it in them, and like just keep giving them more reps in this, getting more comfortable, talking behind a mic, doing podcasts, like in a way that's like, you're not relying on yourself to come up with content each week. Like I got that for you. So you can just focus on like getting better as a, podcaster, content creator until you're ready to like build your own, and then like take off, go start your own podcast, whatever you want to do. And then I find another podcaster that wants to grow and just like get views. Right now, that's not what it is, because I don't really have a following that's like substantial enough to be like, well, be a third mic and then see where it goes. So the people that are on, I just like Noah and Tom's done it is like my main go-to, are just there to like really amplify the content itself, to like really.
That's right, Noah. You are secondary.
That's better than being third, I guess. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, you're literally third today.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, he had to remind me
I was
about
like,
that.
you kind of lined yourself up for that.
Also,
right.
also,
Fair
I-
enough.
that was- one of the times I was gonna have you back was to do a third mic spot, but then something with your car or whatever, and I was like, all right, fine.
I'm here now, at least. Right? So.
I mean, I'm just glad I'm not eating jelly beans and fucking hot sauce. I'm just glad I'm not doing that.
Oh,
Do you watch that
my
episode?
God.
Yeah.
That was so
That
funny.
wasn't-
That was
it was
off
good.
the chains. That was ridiculous.
It was, well, so this is kind of the last thing I want to wrap on, because I'm curious about Carroll Connection, because I made a comment about this last time we were all on the phone, the like little meeting, and I made a comment about like how I try to like envision and create a flow or a pattern to like what episodes I have coming out. I created a whole Google sheet to like really track. And as I was saying, like with the third mics, it's kind of the direction I'm going. I already created like a short list of like I put on the list like people that I know I can get on pretty soon, and I also put on like dream guests kind of thing. And I picked like I created a short list of like possible third mics and who I think would pair well with this guest, and I kind of like tracked it all out and like envisioned what the episode would be. And then as I start to schedule and align it, now I'm going to use that to schedule like a kind of a flow in what the audience actually listens to. So with 103 being like this over the top, wild, crazy episode, I wanted to have the next episode be very entertaining, but not a crazy over the top, because I don't want to continue to one up myself. That's only so sustainable. So that's why I had Booth Babe on. Oh, is that one out yet? Yeah. Booth Babe came on for 104, because I'm like,
I love how you said, is that one on yet? Like this one isn't coming out before, like anyway, like after the fact.
It's me. I need to clarify that in my own brain. So I was like, all right, so that's got a lot of entertainment value, but it's not like, it's not like jumping up in your face, not like crazy. And then the last couple episodes up to this one are like kind of that more like guest podcast interview, like kind of trying to like slow the pace, so then I can kind of get to a point where now I can start building it up and do another crazy episode, where it takes a lot to like put into that episode, like to come up with all those like segment ideas and all those like challenges and do a big crazy episode. I need a lot of time to think about it. So I don't want to just have them all the time. I want them to be like, when the next one comes out, it's like, all right, I know when I drop this episode, I'm going to tell people like to watch it, kind of thing.
You're gonna ask me something? I thought you were gonna ask me something.
Oh yeah, and I just kept talking. So do you like when you're scheduling your guests and you're networking and you're kind of like meeting new people or like talking to returning guests, like do you think about the order of like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
definitely.
I want like a this vibe, then a this vibe, then a this vibe.
Yeah, I try not to do at least the same type of career or whatever they do, or if it's something similar, say someone does like music. Like I had like an entire band on in just different episodes. Like I had to break them up. Like I tried to do it as best I could, but I wanted to get them all on because they all wanted to promote their music and stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
So I tried to break it up as best I could, but because they all are going to have different viewpoints on how the band started and all going to have different life stories. So the goal was to just try to get them all in different episodes. Another episode for me versus doing all together. And something I talked to with one of them about is now that I've had most of them on, is possibly doing a podcast with all of them
Like
and
a
then doing
reunion.
live music with them or something like that.
Whoa.
So like that's something we've talked about with like trying to like figure out a way to maybe possibly do that in there called Sue's Garage. So doing it in the garage
Cool.
and like having that be like kind of like a whole standalone episode where they can kind of use that to promote. So but that is part of the whole process, is not trying to have people that do the same thing.
So you split up the band per episodes, but you didn't split up the band. I'm sure they're still together. Like per episodes, but you didn't release like 101, 102, 103. It would be like 101, then you'd get like a local artist, and then
Yeah,
like
pretty
a
much.
painter, and then you get like a small business owner, and then you'd get the next band member.
Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly how I just try to keep it like that. And like I do it all in like one weekend. So like I record the episode and it's out. So like it like in a situation like for me this week, like I had to reschedule someone and like
Yeah.
I might do a solo. I haven't like fully committed to it. Like it's something I haven't done in a while.
I love me a nice little solo
Little
Jared.
20 minutes, just a little
Yeah.
like I was thinking about doing just maybe like a life update, just kind of like what I've been doing, what I've been up to, like what's just kind of been on my mind. But I haven't fully committed to it because if I don't do it, that could lead toward you guys' episode being 140. So that's kind of something like, and I love the round numbers. So I get so OCD about it. So like that kind of like, I mean, I got you for episode 50, and like we specifically planned that episode. So like getting to 140 is kind of a cool number to set you guys up for. So I'm thinking about that, but I also might just roll it an episode just to do it. So it's something I'm not totally committed to. Don't hold me accountable for that, but it's something.
I think it'll come out before this.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah.
But
yeah.
I do really admire your turnover time with the podcast, because it's part of the reason that I don't do topics or themes or like recent trends, because it's like by the time I actually put out that episode, it's like no one cares about that topic anymore. Like,
in a situation like this, I like envy that you have backlog, because like I don't have an episode to go out. Anyways, I had a scheduled thing.
I kind of
and it's not.
backlog out of laziness though.
I guess, yeah, but it's and sometimes it benefits you though, because sometimes when you don't actually want to do something, or someone does
I give
flake on you,
myself that time.
you have that backup to like still post if you wanted to. You don't have to post it, but you have it. So like
I have to. I for myself, I have to.
yeah. So
I
like
will
that
kill
part
myself.
is like I think about, but I just like I try to, like I said, I keep it simple with the editing. Like I don't go over it. I'm not a crazy editor. If you watch my videos, they're not like that great. Like they're good enough for the quality that I have.
But again,
so.
you're trying to create something that is valuable to the people that are on and the people in their lives. Like you're trying to create a conversation with someone so that the people around them can get to know them in a way that they otherwise would never have. A lot of like even my like friends that I have now that I didn't grow up with, I don't know a lot of their backstory. Like, dude, almost like every time me and Gio are chilling in the studio, we like get to bullshitting and he starts telling me about like something from like high school or an interest in this anime show, and then like and how he started YouTube when he was, what were you, middle school or high school?
I was in middle school.
Middle school, like, and I'm like, how do I never know that? But like you get that out of people like in ways that like whenever you do have a guest on that I know and I'm familiar with, I'm like, I have to listen, because like you get a version of them that I would never even inquire about. But I'm always so interested to get to know that person more. I just like, I don't even know how to do that, even off mic or off air. Like, I don't know how to start asking questions to get to know someone. Like, I just like, I like the present and the future. Like, I want to like have a good time now and like just like talk about things I usually like feel like I would get bored of asking those questions. Like, oh, what did you do this? What did you do that? But then every time I hear those things and like learn about people around me, I'm like, wow, I really like valued that. Like it's really cool to get to know this person more.
Yeah, it's created so many more intimate relationships in my life that I'm like completely appreciative to that I wouldn't have otherwise done. Like if I didn't have the podcast, I wouldn't ask these questions. I'll be honest. Like I wouldn't. Like I'm very introverted. And I wouldn't do it.
And you find yourself doing that even like just like randomly throughout your like day-to-day life, like
not as much. I mean, my day-to-day life, I don't do crazy much. Like I pretty much I stick to what I do. Like I have my own like job and stuff. I do my job, do my podcast, spend time with my family and my loved ones, and I do that. And like I go hiking, like kayaking, I like outdoor stuff. Like my podcast is my way to socialize to people, and I like to like use that time to make it an intimate experience, not only for them, but like for me too. Like I want to get to know them as a person, like besides just what I see on social media. Like the conversations off podcasts are always 10 times better than the actual podcast. But
I can attest to that.
The conversations are great. Like and it gets because like you're getting someone's true self.
Minimum an hour before that you record for an hour. And then I stay there until Booth Babe calls me like, are you coming home?
Where the fuck are you?
Did you die?
Like all those times, like when we'd be at my studio for like 3 hours, like at midnight, and we were just like, maybe we should go home, guys.
Yeah. I literally have work tomorrow. Like, what am I doing?
Record a whole podcast. We sit there just debating life and doing topics.
Which we're going to transition to now. So thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode. No, that's not the official. It is the wrap-up part. Anything else we got for my listeners? Thank you guys. The few, the strong, the proud,
you loyal.
Jared, what do you got for us?
I was gonna say, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're committed to the whole process and like continually doing it, like putting aside of like what people think about you, whether one episode does better than the other, like you don't give a shit about it. You just do what you feel is necessary to do. And the fact that you've committed to over 100 plus episodes says a lot. Like most people can't do that. Like, I mean, there's people within our own lives that we've talked to haven't come close to that number and have stopped doing that. So like, you gotta be willing to almost like pat yourself on the back. Like, and I know it's like, I have trouble doing that sometimes. It's like,
but you're a narcissist.
But still, like, it's still hard to like give yourself credit for something when you feel like it's not as good as it could be. But like other people are like, yo, this shit's great. So it's like it's hard to like accept that sometimes. But I think what you're doing here is true to yourself actually, and like the whole part of the ever changing vibe from the beginning is that it's ever changing, and I think that's the cool part to kind of hit on. And I think you have the potential to really blow up, especially with like the AOHD stuff, like that stuff.
AOHD is gonna blow up.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I'm confident in that.
As long as you guys stay committed to that.
This is my thing. This will just be.
And like being attached to that though is just it's gonna help both, because it's like you said on, I forget what episode you said it on, might have been 100, where it's like this is like your thing away from that, where people can kind of see your actual personality aside from like rating videos and stuff like that. So
man, you really do watch. Look at that.
I pay attention, man. I'm one of those people. So yeah, I don't watch every episode. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that, but I definitely
love wALiE.
I mean, I pay attention.
I work with him. I'm here.
Yeah.
I pay attention to stuff. I mean, that's why I've been good at what I do, is I pay attention. So, but to your listeners, I don't know what to tell them. The two of them.
You heard it here first.
I don't know what to tell them.
I don't know why you guys are here, but go check out the Carroll Connection.
Yeah, especially if you stuck around this long.
Yeah, that was inspirational. I don't really know what to tell you, but good vibes.
Thank you guys. That's it. We're done. We're gonna be hanging out for a little bit longer. So. Hope you enjoyed this part.
That was fun.